and then I have all this done. But we're now streaming on live Facebook, Camilla. So we, it's always an amazing pleasure to have you. And it's Monday, April the 6th. And it's just really, really good to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me, Michelle. I love talking to you and sharing with our friends online.
Awesome, wonderful. So I have invited a few people, and I'm sure a few will join as they kind of chime in. But we're, I love the theme that we're talking about, Camilla, which is kind of a continuum of what we discussed last week, and the power of mindfulness and the five senses, and just how to practice being mindful using any one of the five senses. So today, what is I've already been doing some of this, and I can tell you, I need a lot of refresher courses, because, as you know, sometimes, I heard it, yeah, that makes sense, and then I'm out there and I'm like, wait a second, I think I'm getting that. So
yeah, it's like a muscle you have to train, and eventually you get really good at it.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the right path, but I'm in the beginning. So, so we're going to talk today. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, today I thought we could talk about seeing mindfully, or mindful observation, if you will.
Yep.
We do have busy lives, and we're running around all the time, driving around, working, and most of us don't even have 5 minutes to sit down and relax on a regular basis, right? And so doing these exercises and mindfulness is important as a way to achieve a positive mind-body balance. There are many exercises to do. Mindfulness, I find, to be the simplest of all of them, and also trains you and prepares you for general type of meditation exercises. So that's why I took many years to train to learn to do this myself, and found positive results in that. So
Perfect.
yeah. So let's see, what is mindful observation? What does it mean? It's just very, very simply, it's about paying attention to what's in your visual field. What can you see? And then focusing on a particular object for a period of time. I would recommend focusing on it for 1 to 2 minutes, or basically on whatever your focus can, whatever your attention is in the moment. Yeah, if your attention span is only 30 seconds, and start with that, that's fine too.
Okay.
But you want to get to a point where it could be 1 to 2 minutes in length. And why is it mindfully seeing something very powerful? I would say it's hugely powerful because it allows us to connect with nature. It allows us to connect with our physical world. These are the details of the things that we don't notice on a regular everyday basis. We're just literally whizzing through life.
Very true. I mean, it resonates immensely, because I've always sort of viewed, I mean, we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. We're connected with the trees, we're connected with energy. I mean, when you think about what makes us up, it's atoms, right? So does it well, and it can look at from a living in an ecosystem or a forest. There's a plethora of, like, there's millions of different species, and from plants to animals to soil to, there's these living, but it's an ecosystem, if you will, and somehow energy, we're connected to all of that.
Absolutely. And I shared, I don't remember if I shared it on the first time that we spoke, but I started to train myself in mindfulness by doing a mindful walk every single morning. And so my mindful walk was about observing everything that I could see, everything from the cracks in the sidewalk to the flowers, the leaves, the rocks, anything that I could see. I would just focus my attention on that.
Okay.
And one of the things that I noticed very often in the beginning was my mind was constantly judging and assessing what it is that I was seeing. And then I was judging and assessing the exercise itself. Like, oh my God, this is stupid. What am I doing? I'm looking at cracks in the sidewalk. I'm counting rocks. I'm looking at details in a rock. Like, how crazy is this? If anybody sees me doing this, they must think that I'm nuts. You know?
I can very much relate to that. Very much relate to that because, you know, a bit of a busy active mind. Get it done. We got to get this done, this done, this done. And you miss a lot of different things. And it was probably my older perspective around yoga versus what I really understand it is. Because I was always someone who, you know, if you're going to work out, let's go in, let's get just you know, it would be weight training or we have to get it done, as opposed to, wait a second, there's all these other things that go along with it that are still there. It's all connected, if you will. But I totally relate to what you said.
Yeah. I couldn't do yoga 20 years ago. Couldn't do it. My mind was just not trained in that way. And I also had no interest in training my mind in that way. I was just on the freight train, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so now, you know, we go through life and we start to notice the stressors and how it affects us. And so I said, okay, it's time to start to do new things. And so that's how I took on mindfulness. And the funny thing that I know, or so not funny, but the interesting thing that I noticed in doing this mindful observation is there are so many things that I didn't even know existed. There are so many things that I didn't even see. It's like seeing, but not seeing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It might have been there, but you didn't. It's, well, they would sometimes they change the way you look at things, and the things that you look at will change.
very well said.
Yeah.
Very well said. And so it became an exercise for me in seeing things for the first time. You know, children are always so curious and excited about their world because they haven't seen these things before. Then we get to a certain age and it's like, been there, done that, and there's nothing exciting anymore. But imagine if you were to bring that level of curiosity to everything in your world, how exciting would that be? Right? It's like you're seeing things for the first time, you're experiencing newness. And so whenever you're bringing curiosity to any conversation, it's incredible. It's very uplifting, it's positive, because we're not in our judgments and our assessments of things that have already occurred.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things that just hit me as soon as you said that, Camilla, is you just said we're not in our, you know, judgments of, like, we're not coming in with a preconceived, or we see it and then we all of a sudden have an opinion on it. And the opinion is going to be based on something we've experienced at some time, but we're coming in and we're seeing it firsthand, but from a curiosity.
Yes, from a curiosity point of view. And the other thing is when you are, so that's the first part. The second part is when you are observing something with intention, you're able to connect to that energy on a different level. And it's in that connection that you're starting to feel the positive vibes within your physical self.
That's very because having said that, and so I'm going to bring something up, Camilla. We right now, I'll bring this up because there was a conversation I had earlier today. Very dear friend of mine, business colleague of mine, and she shared with me that her brother works in the, you know, I don't think you can get much more front line than this, but he is a doctor in the States. And he had retired. He had a practice, but then he retired, and then he ended up getting a position at the hospital. Well, he now has a senior position in ICU. So he's living COVID every single day.
I can imagine.
And what is he doing? And again, we had a conversation this morning, and it's like, well, he's, you know, he's serving. Like he's the mindset's there. Like, it's just, you got to get up. We're in a war, just like if we're in a war, and we're doing our part. But then my thinking was, what what is he able to do to, because he's just the work is nonstop. It's nonstop that they're there. So how is he able to kind of walk away and from applying mindfulness, from applying how he can how do you decompress?
Yeah, very well said. And so decompression for those people, you're going to need to change your physical environment. You need to be away, go outside, away from the hospital. And if you can't, let's say you're on a shift and you only have 10 or 15 minutes and you're not able to go outside,
Yeah.
most staff have like a room, like a staff room that they can go to. And it's in that staff room that you might need to change your environment. Some people have a hard time with, let's say, mindful observation in that kind of environment. And maybe that might not be a mindful exercise to engage in. Maybe it would be that of sound, which is what a lot of athletes do. You stick on a headset
Yeah.
and you close your eyes or you remove yourself from that immediate environment and you're listening to something else. It transports you. You're transporting your mind. Maybe you're doing mental imagery through sound.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. That makes sense. But for, our vast population, Camilla, like you, like me, like many of us who, we're either working from home and we're now cohabitating with our kids,
Mhm.
and our kids can be adults. We're cohabitating with who our units are, and just things that we continue. We how we get through this. So these exercises, these the ability to be able to stay mindful in this capacity, like just through observation. I think it's important that we continue to help in these ways, if you will, because a few weeks, like you say, it just as the weeks unfold, there's we want to stay as grounded and balanced as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how what other people are going through, and I've got two kids in school, and one of them is in elementary school still. And today, April 6th, they're starting their online programs. We're a little behind. I guess the public system is behind the private system, but in any case, they've started today, and we've put together a plan. And we'll probably share this plan and results as we move forward on our talks here. But last night we sat and prepared their work environment and looked at what that was going to look like and what was going to be promoting to their wellness. We talked about going out for recess. We talked about taking that break and going for lunch and what they were going to be doing on their lunch breaks. And all of it is about incorporating mindfulness is removing yourself from what you're doing, and what are you going to see, and what are you going to smell, and what are you going to taste, and what are you going to be observing, and what are you going to be noticing. And so it's in between the nooks and crannies of their online studying that we're going to be implementing all this, and we hope that it's going to be a positive experience. I'm hopeful that it will be a positive experience.
That's very, very is our I mean, I can speak, Camilla. I have our 15-year-old who's in grade 10, and she's also a child who's on a IEP. So people will say they're learning disability. They have different ways to learn, and we have to be there to support them on how they learn. And it's been a long few weeks, but not as much structure at home, but trying to put things kind of into play. But typically when they're in school, they're there for, I know mine will be there from about 8:10 until 2:40, if you will. So that's a good 6.5 hours a day.
Yes.
Yeah. So the mirror that you've put this in where they can practice mindful, so they have a recess, they can go out, but what they can do with that, because they're home as well. So what a wonderful thing. It doesn't matter how old we are. We have to, this is helpful to us because they're going through this as well.
Yeah, and mindfulness is really paying attention to what you have control over, because we don't have control over the future and what other people out there are doing. The only thing we have control over is the here and the now.
Right.
And so in teaching my children about control over here and now, it actually gives them a sense of being grounded, and um, gives them more autonomy. They've become so independent these last couple of weeks. I can't even tell you. I love it. I think it's great. Not that I love having them home, because I would really like to have them at school, but
Yeah.
they've become so independent because they're starting to realize, hey, you know what? Things have changed. Here's what I can do. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I don't want to do. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. And it's quite nice.
That goosebumps on me because Camilla, with our 15-year-old, we spent a lot of years with the school system in supporting her because of the way that she learns, and we would have 4 meetings a year, but just more to over communicate so that what the teachers may be reading, we just wanted to add additional context to it so that they really understood how she learns. So she's so to have observed over the last few weeks, to have your children just show that much more independence, they're having more clarity with what they like and don't like, but
Mhm.
it's coming from their choice. That is incredible, because I've always sort of viewed our children, as much as as we teach them, as we and as they get through the system and what they want to do, it is going to be about their choices. So we've heard years and years where people might be trained in a certain discipline, and then they go back and they're like, I hate it, and yet they could be doing amazing in terms of, but yet they don't like it.
Right.
So yeah, so it's um the to put in front of children the opportunity for them to kind of start to show what they really like to do. It's interesting because they naturally
Yeah, I mean, I have a 15-year-old too with an IEP, so I totally understand your experience, because we're living it as well. And one of the things that's surfacing in the midst of all of this transition is, how do you learn? What do you need? What's going to work for you?
Mhm.
And I just ask the questions and sit back and have her answer them. And sometimes, yes, she's going to, throw her hands in the air and say, I don't know. I don't know. And she gets all frustrated.
Mhm.
And then we sort of, get grounded. And sometimes we have to wait a day before the thoughts come to mind, but eventually they always do. And eventually she always figures it out, because what she's starting to understand is she's in control. She gets to say how it goes.
That is awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because my being, we're advocates of our children, and
Absolutely.
I remember I used to say this all the time, and over the years I've developed good relations with some of the, some of her teachers, or people that have supported her. But I used to always say, like, it's about her. It's not me. It's not. I'm just. But it's about her. And I would say, look, does it really? It's not about how long it takes her to get it. It's not
Mhm.
a race, but she will. She'll get to it in her own way. She'll be able to. So if it takes a little longer, that's okay. If it means that she does, a little less, but she shows competency, then things are modified there. Um, I always say she's strong on emotional intelligence, so she can really she does have that ability to pick up on other people's sort of feelings and so forth. But
Yeah.
it's again, it's up to her, and she'll choose. And they find what they love to do. Like they do find they do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
turns out she's a little bit on the digital media side. So
Beautiful. That's a big area right now anyway.
it's good. Yes. So mindfulness through observation,
Yes.
and applying those two, just those two mini exercises a day. Um, and that's these are things, Camilla, that people can just take away and start doing. As simple as they may
Absolutely.
sound, but
Crazy as it might seem, pick up a leaf or a rock and look at it. You're going to see things that you've never seen before.
Because I've mindful through like through hearing, but not observation so much. So I'm as I said, I'm a student here putting some of this. I mean, but the ability to be able to just understand it and apply it in a pragmatic way and non-complex, you know, it's we just, as we say, we want to be able to continue to stay grounded, you know, through these times. And we do we work virtually, and
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, I mean, I know I felt this way. Sometimes when things are too simple, people are not interested because they believe it won't work. They are looking for something complicated, or you know, something that has many multiple steps to it, because then that means that it's more important, rather than simplicity. Simplicity, when you're applying it, creates the results. I promise you. I
perfect.
promise you it works.
I love it. I love it. I almost want to. I love to measure, so I'm almost, you know, Camilla, I'd love to be able to do a poll and just try and get that many people to start applying, and let's see the results at the end of the month. But we'll get there, you know. Maybe we'll do that one day.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
great.
So on that note, I am going to wish you an amazing balance of a Monday. So happy Monday. And
Happy Monday.
yes, and just for everybody that's watching, Camilla's back with us on Wednesday at 12:15, and also Friday. Just there's so much that, but we want to really kind of get through and understand. We have 5 senses. So this was the mindful through the sense of what we see, observation. And then we have one more on Wednesday that
Yes, we're
to
going to be talking about mindfully touching, and that will complete that series.
Okay, wonderful. Well, have an awesome balance of your day, Camilla, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. You
Okay, all right.
bye
Bye.
bye.